All right, so when economies and markets worldwide are going down, does the confidence of our enemies go up? To the former USS Cole commander, Kirk Lippold, and author of Front Burner. He says, absolutely. It's an intriguing read, what I think really was our first opening terror salvo.
Absolutely, Neil. When you look at it,
2000, right?
you attack buildings and embassies, they represent and house U.S. interests. When you attack a warship, that's something that defends interests and our ability to protect citizens and our economy overseas. It's an act of war. And
you know, though, Commander, I look through the prism of being a market and economic nerd, and I'm thinking, all right, summer 2000, economy's on fire or still hot. Markets are on fire. NASDAQ's en route to all-time records. We had more money than Croesus. We could have addressed a lot of the stuff you talked about then, like going after nefarious elements in Yemen and elsewhere. Now we're broker than broke. I mean, aren't we a lot more vulnerable just on that basis alone?
Absolutely, yes. You not only have to have a capability, but a willingness to use it. Our problem is we are losing our capability, and we don't have the option of using it anymore because we can't afford it.
So when our enemies see a big sell-off here, or they see, oh, the U.S. could dip into another recession, or they're flat broke in Washington, and the president just today said, we're going to hike taxes on the rich, and it's not going to go to debt relief. It's going to be done in the name of fairness, yada, yada. Do they just sort of say, all right, this is looking good?
For them, it's not so much good, it is a window of opportunity. This is a chance for us because when you don't have strong economies around the world providing for people by having jobs that they can give to their families and be able to use things to improve their lives, they naturally begin to gravitate and turn toward things that radicalize them, that make them angry with the governments that they feel are oppressing them or not providing for them, and they eventually turn toward what they see as the symbol of a government that has way too much and does too little, which is ours. And it's unfortunate. I think that's why you see the anti-Americanism and some of the hostility around the world toward the U.S., when in fact we don't have the economy anymore that's capable of supporting some of the extended protections we need to have for our citizens overseas.
But you know, the military is such a big target, or $600 billion a year, whatever we give it. And so, you know, you even have relatively conservative congressmen who say, well, we could trim a little here. You always are going to be careful what you go for here, because you're playing with a knife, right?
You are. You have to look at, okay, if you have a security strategy for a nation of which the military is a major component in its ability to safeguard U.S. interests and our economic interests overseas, you have to be able to articulate what risk are we willing to occur if we are beginning to degrade it, if we are beginning to draw back.
But is this a big Western tumult going on? We're looking at markets here and abroad, Commander. And I'm wondering something bigger is at play. You warned about in your book to your authorities about getting on top of it. There are a lot of people who don't like us. Got to get to the bottom of it. You argued it through the Clinton years. Last year, you argued it through Bush. But what is the disconnect?
I think the disconnect is you have a lot of people who get insulated sitting in Washington who don't understand what is really going on either on the waterfront or the foxhole. They think that's someone else's issue because right now you've got a very small all-volunteer force that is protecting our freedoms around the globe. And while Americans love to be supportive, they're really not connected to those young men and women that are fighting for us.
So what do we do? If we're looking at a country that's broke, and we're looking at constant warnings we never heed. And I was thinking of you, I don't want to give the book away to those who I urge to read, by the way. You were warning about something bad happening early in the morning of September 11th. And then it just hit the magnitude. And you had stated, it's been confirmed by others. That's spooky stuff. But we didn't learn. We've since not followed up and learned from post-incidents. So you think we're due for bad stuff again?
I think we have to be very careful the more we withdraw from that preemptive type of doctrine where we say we can't, why wait to take a punch in the face? What we need to do is make sure we're getting the correct intelligence analysis.
What would you do about Iran then?
I would take a real hard look. If we, in fact, are getting the intelligence we need, if we're getting the confidence that we need in it, we have to look at on a regional basis. Clearly, there are a lot of elements that are in play. Striking Iran may sound simple, but what are the second and third order effects?
But don't you think there's, even among the military, that there's sort of battle fatigue, commitment fatigue, and that Ahmadinejad in Iran and in Syria, they know this, and they just capitalize on this. And our economic ills.
I think they work that angle clearly to their advantage, but I think that we need to still take a look at it and say, what can we do? And if you're fatigued, it doesn't matter. Defending a nation doesn't rely on tired people. It relies on dedicated young men and women who do what's necessary to defend their homes and their families.
Commander, you're a hero. Front Burner's the book, Al-Qaeda's attack on the USS Cole, really the whole event that presaged the war on terror. My only rap against the good commander, I could tell him this, he's too modest. I know a little bit more about some of the details along the way. Very, very modest. If it were me writing this book, I'd have already given myself the Bronze Star. Be a done story. Speaking of a guy who probably would have